Hey guys, welcome to Massive Iron Live. It is September 12th. We are living in the future in the year 2025. Welcome to the future. Back in the day when I was a young little fart, 2025 seemed so futuristic, impossible, like we'd never get. And here we are. We're just here lifting weights and eating protein shakes and getting protein farts and doing all the things we're doing in the lifting world. Welcome to Massive Iron Live. We're transmitting from the future. Hope you guys had a wonderful week. Thanks for tuning in. Massive Iron Live is the longest running lifting podcast in the history of the universe. That is my claim. I don't know anybody that can argue with it, so we're going to run with it, right? Who cares? It's the internet, so we can make up anything, and it is 100% true, I assure you. Anyway, I'm here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern to answer your questions. Glad to have you on board. Massive Iron Live, for those of you not familiar, the Massive Iron system is a system of freedom. We look at training from a broader perspective. What has everybody been doing over the last 70 years? What are the common pillars of success? And we try to open a path to freedom rather than creating a narrow path and a boring path when it comes to building muscle and strength. So I welcome your questions. Any questions, doesn't matter if it's been asked 1,000 times before. We are here to help. So a couple of things, housekeeping things. If you post up a question and it does not go through, that is not me throttling you. I believe YouTube has this fixed for a long, long time. I would say about a quarter of folks would try to post a question and it wouldn't go through. So if your question doesn't go through, try shortening it. Try rewording it. Sometimes you can trip the anger filter with YouTube, and for some reason it might not like a specific word. So there you have it. How's everybody going? How you doing? I'm on week 5 of my cut. And how many days has it been? Let's see, 29 would be Monday. Let's see, 30. Day 33. Training has been going better than ever. My best training since probably age 50. Things are going really, really well. Today is Leggy Wiggy Day. Today is Leggy Wiggy Day, where we train the quadriceps and the hamazoids, or whatever they're called. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. Tomorrow is jujitsu. Tomorrow is jujitsu and junk day. So I just do a little bit of extra arm work. Typically, I'm doing hammy whammy curls and a little bit extra triceps, rear delts, calf raises, whatever. So that's my world. Things are going really well. Body weight was at a new low today for the cut. And we're just driving on. I'm in a really good place. I'm going to keep moving on until I hit 210, and then I'm going to do what they would call the big reveal. Hopefully that's the plan, at least. A couple of things. I offer a custom workout service. It is my most popular service outside of coaching, and I'm not going to do a big, long commercial. But if you are interested in a custom workout, head over to my website, Super Living Today. And just search custom. It's only $39. I don't give you a cookie cutter workout. I build it from the ground up. I have one left to do tomorrow, so I'm pretty caught up. I usually end up doing about 5 to 6 a week outside of coaching work. So if you are interested, just head over here and search custom. If you're interested in coaching is what I do full time. I take coaching seriously. I try to build a relationship with people, and I check in 5 days a week, for better or for worse. I'm with you every single day. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but I check in, look for your weight, your workout reports, your questions, your form videos. Every single day, I'm going to give everything I can for every client, whether they like it or not. So if you're interested in coaching, check this out. I was the 2023 Online Coach of the Year. 2024, I made it into the top 4, but they didn't let me have back-to-back because they had to give it to somebody else. I probably I got a hair in my mouth. I was going to say, I probably, I won't be a smart ass. I was just going to be a smart ass. I was lucky to be in the top 4. So anyway, also, if you need workout ideas, check out the workout tab. Plenty of workout ideas. All right, commercial is done. I want to know how you guys are doing. What program are you using? What questions do you have? What are you struggling with? If any of you, and nobody ever does this, but I want to bring this up anyway. If you have a form video you want me to look at, please just post the link here. We'll click on it. We'll look at your squats, your RDLs, your deadlifts, your curly whirlies, your waiter curls, your teacup laterals where you pour the teacup when you do the side lateral. You guys familiar with that old school teacup lateral thing? Whatever you want. If you have a video you want me to look at, please do. Also, if you check out the link to my last video, not the short, not the reel, you can find a link to the Team Massive Iron Discord server. We would love to have you over. By the way, if Martin is watching, we all miss you, Martin. I'm getting messages. Where's Martin? No pressure, Martin, but we miss you, Martin. All right. Big Ernie P. What's going on, Big Ernie? Glad to have you in the mix. Big Joe B from Canada up there eating ketchup, potato chips, and gummy nerds. Good morning, Joe. Good to have you. Good day, Stephen T. Massive. I added BTN shoulder press. For those of you not familiar with the BTN, it is behind the neck. Something I did from basically 86 to roughly 2008, 2009. And boy, did it humble me. Any advice to get stronger on it? Just focus on controlling the eccentric. Now, when the weight is about at your ear level, you can take it deeper if that feels natural. But once the weight is at about ear level, you want to have your wrists stacked right above your elbows. Just be patient. Control it down. Don't rush it. Don't get reckless. Chase your plus ones. You're going to get stronger over time. It's going to give you value, so it's not something you inherently need to rush. I got to a 315 BTN, and I want you to know any video number I state on this channel, or any lift number I state on this channel, I have a video that will show my strength. So I'm not. The reason why I mention that is because I do not in any way, shape, or form want to be one of these guys that talks about magical strength lifts, but doesn't have a video to actually prove I was in that area. I don't have a video of me doing 315 BTN, but I have a video of me doing like 225 rest pause for sets of 3. But it's a great lift. It's an underrated lift. I would probably start around the 8 rep range. I don't like really too high reps with shoulder work. 3 sets of 6, 3 sets of 8. We can't do 7s in lifting, right? It's just a joke, but no one does 3 sets of 7. It might be lucky 7s for the rest of the world, but lifting, no one ever programs 3 sets of 7. So it has to be 3 sets of 6 or 3 sets of 8. But I would start in that range, somewhere with straight sets. Get your feet underneath you a little bit. Get on solid ground and adjust as needed. Frequency, I wouldn't do it more than once a week. You only have a certain amount of time each week to devote to shoulder training. This would be a good piece of the puzzle, but I would also stack it with something like a machine overhead press, side laterals, partial laterals, supersetted with side laterals, bulldozer laterals, upright rows, supersetted with high pulls, etc., etc. And thank you. Have a great weekend as well. Now, before we move on, this video is sponsored by Ultra Blue Hawaiian Monster. Not really. I'm actually on number 2. So my cut is going really well, but for the last 3 days, I've been super hungry and a little bit on the tired side the last 3 days. I think it is catching up to me. So I went to get some purple monsters this morning because I just felt like getting purple monsters, and they didn't have purple monsters. They only had 2 blue monsters. Now, the interesting thing is we have some kind of a hula woman with a clamshell bra holding a head on a rope. I don't know what's up with that. She's literally holding a head on a rope. I just noticed that here on live. Thank you, Monster. Not sure what that is about, but it's all right. I don't mind the blue Hawaiian. It's okay. All right. Rico, how's it going, Rico? Good afternoon. Let's make some iron move. Big Jim Thompson, I hope everything's going well with you, Big Jim. And Big Jeff, good morning, Team Massive. Good to see all of you. On a well-controlled bulk with a solid program, what's the expected muscle to fat gain ratio? So, should I get really into the weeds on this? Should I bring open the Google Doc and kind of look at some numbers? Why don't we do that? Okay. Why don't we get deep into the weeds on this and do a little bit of education? I'll try not to draw this out too long, but I think actually looking at some numbers might not be a bad thing. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? Let's look at a bulk. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull up a Google Doc. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. It's education time with Steve from Massive Iron. Steve from Massive Iron is going to do some number action. All right. What do we got here? All right, Steve from Massive Iron. So let's one thing that we need more page space, 0.5. We got to widen the tabs. And should we go landscape? Beep, 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 do, wasting everybody's time. Boop. Okay, so and we have to have Roboto. So let's look at things. Basically, we're going to provide some general information, but it is going to be reasonable information. So over the course of your life, you have the potential to gain 32 pounds of mass. This is for women, or men, derp, and women, roughly about 40% of this. So we don't know for certain. There's not a lot of information when it comes to female lifting, but I would say this is reasonable, okay? So we are going to start with about 32 pounds of mass. During your first year, okay, you have the potential to gain 16 or half of this. And I'm going to remove this comment. So you have the potential to gain about half of that. And the second year, about half of the remaining. Oops, we have to tab it here. Let me try to actually do this correctly. So we have 16 left. We start at 32. We have 16 left. Half of that would be 8. Good grief. Let's see. Half of that would be 4. And the fourth year, 2. Fifth year, 1. Now, a lot of you guys are thinking 5 years, and like after 4 years, you're at natural potential. There's no way that's happening for me. You're right. That's no way that's generally happening for most people. But when this is maximum, this is Dr. Casey Butt studied a lot of the natural potential a lot of the natural champions. He studied natural potential, and a reasonable maximum for you is in a given year is to gain about half of your remaining potential, a maximum. Most people will never hit that. Most men or women will be more likely to hit a third of that. So your first year of training, you would be really lucky to hit 8 to 10. That would be good progress. Okay. And let's just say we'll use the top. That would mean you have 22 left. Well, let's use 8. 8 is going to be more realistic for the average individual. You have 24 pounds left to gain. Your second year, you have the potential to gain half of this, so 12, but we're going to go half of half. So we're going to do 6, okay? So now you have 18 left. So we're going to basically say you're going to gain about a quarter rather than a half. Your third year, we'll go about 4, 14 left. And your fifth year, maybe about 3. You have 11 pounds left. And your fifth year, maybe about 2 to 3. And we'll say you have 8 left. So you can see this would put you at 75% of your natural potential after 5 years. That's still a pretty good pace. It doesn't seem like a lot, but you've just gained 24 pounds of muscle and you look amazing. Okay. So this is maximum. This is more reasonable, but that's still pretty good progress. So we're using this to establish a bulk. Okay. So let's say first year, you're going to gain 8 pounds of mass. And you're going to be in a bulk 10 months out of the year. You're going to do a 5-month bulk, a 1-month cut, a 5-month bulk, a 1-month cut, just as an example, okay? Just as an example. So you're going to have two periods where you gain 10 pounds on a bulk. Or let's say you gain 12 over 5 months. 12 pounds in 5 months. A reasonable lean bulk. And you do 2 of these a year. Are you following along? Let me just underline this for the halibut. All right, so in each of these, make sure the underline is gone. Each of these bulks, you would gain 4 pounds of muscle, maybe about 2 pounds of water retention, give or take. We're speaking in general terms here of general water retention or inflammation or extra glycogen in the muscles, and about 6 pounds of fat, give or take. Again, these are just rough estimates. We're not trying to say this is a hard carved in stone rule. Okay. So in this case, your first year, you're doing 2 bulks of 5 months, 12-pound bulks at a time, and you gain 8 pounds of mass the first year. So during each 5-month bulk, you would gain roughly 1 pound of fat a month. So you're looking at gaining 5 to 6 pounds of fat over a 5-month bulk. And then you can go in and do a quick mini cut, boop, fat gone. Several weeks, we get the water retention gone, we get the fat gone, maybe we lose 8, 10 pounds. You're back on track and ready to go after a mini cut. So when you properly lean bulk, you're not going to gain a lot of fat. Generally, it's going to be roughly a pound a month for your first couple of years. In your third year, it might be more like 1.5 pounds if you use this rate, but it's generally not going to be more than 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of fat a month. And by staying in this lean bulk lane, you're going to facilitate or put yourself in a good position to build this kind of mass. So I hope that helps. I hope this deep dive or deeper dive helped a little bit. Let me know if you guys have any questions on this. Let me get a drink. So the ratio is going to vary. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I had an itchy. What is going on, Richard? Massive greeting. I wish you a happy weekend. Good to have you here. Story of the week and story of the week from Richard and Nolan. Where shall we go today? Where shall we go today? All right. So let's talk about the impact of lifting on athletic performance, because I get a lot of questions about athletic performance. Hey, big, hairy, ugly dude, what should I do to build strength for basketball, to get my vertical jump up, to build strength for jujitsu, to build strength for boxing, to build strength for whatever? Okay. So I'm not a boxing coach, a jujitsu coach, a track and field coach, but I'm going to share my experiences with just building general strength using the methods that I teach on this channel. So I was always extremely active. That's an understatement. From basically age 8 to you name it, I was always outside playing what we call strikeout with a tennis ball, basically baseball with 3 players, a batter, a pitcher, a brick wall, and an outfielder. I would go play basketball when I wasn't doing that for endless hours. I would run every day. I would do step-ups a lot inside during the winter. I would even take the old tennis racket and play whack the ball against the brick wall. I was always doing something. I was super active. In junior high school or I think it was high school, I lettered in cross country in 10th grade. And I went out for football one year, wrestling one year. I played intramural basketball in high school. I was a really good hitter in baseball, and I played catcher for like 10 years. But what I'm trying to do is not set myself up as a super athlete. I was not a super athlete. I loved to be athletic. I loved to be active. Now, I wasn't a poor athlete. I was what you would probably call solidly coordinated, but an average athlete, right? I didn't lack the core. I didn't have weak coordination, and I didn't look unathletic. I just wasn't always the best at throwing a ball fast or jumping high, if that makes sense. So I wanted to differentiate between loving to be active and being the best athlete, because I certainly was not. Now, I went off to college in New Mexico Tech, 1986. I'm in New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology in Socorro, New Mexico. And they specialized in astrophysics and petroleum engineering. And I was an astrophysics major. I went there, and my English professor, Dr. Michael Gilbertson, who I've been desperately trying to find, I've even reached out to the school lately to see if they have any information on him. I can't find him anywhere. I've always wanted to thank him, but that's information a lot of you guys know. Anyway, I spent 2.5 years lifting, and my bench press was pretty close to 275 by 4 after 2.5 years. I was squatting 315 by 5 to 6 to 7 after 2.5 years. My strength was dramatically different from where it was when I exited high school. So in the year to year and a half after that, a couple of things happened. Number one, I played softball league, so I returned to baseball. Number two, I started playing more basketball at the local YMCA. I would go train and then play basketball. So a lot of pickup basketball. I ended up entering the military and doing a lot of running. And here's what I found. I didn't expect this. It wasn't my goal. But I came home after 2.5 years, and I could nearly dunk a basketball. Nearly. I was probably a couple of inches away from being proficient. I would spend so much time practicing my running and jumping and attempts to dunk. And I probably dunked, not pretty dunks, maybe a dozen times. Not pretty dunks. So my vertical jump was much higher after 2.5 years of lifting. It wasn't my goal. It's just the way it came out. I'm 5'10", probably 5'10" at my peak. I came out easily able to block, swat the ball, grab the rim. That was a noticeable difference. Baseball, I was on my dad's softball team, and I was always a good hitter in baseball. But when I joined the softball team, I found I could absolutely crush the ball, like power. And this was another amazing benefit of all the base building and lifting. In wrestling, we would do some wrestling at the YMCA. My skill level was much, but I had the baseline technique, but with that strength level, man, it made a world of difference for me in wrestling. And when I joined the military, my sprinting speed was dramatically improved. Dramatically. We would do sprints sometimes to the chow hall, and I remember being the fastest in almost every case, running in combat boots. So I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but what I found out is that 2.5 years of lifting dramatically increased my vertical jump, dramatically increased my sprint speed, dramatically increased my ability to wrestle, and dramatically increased my ability to generate power in baseball just from this type of base building training. So again, I am not specifically a trainer of athletes, but I will never forget the impact that base building, doing what we do, had on my athletic performance. So that is my story. I mean, even to this day, when people come to me, I'm like, we just need to build your base. And anything else you need to do sports specific, I'm going to leave to a sports specific trainer. But as a base, that's my lifting story of the week. Shelly, how's it going, Shelly? Happy Friday. Let me get a drink. Sam, on an upper lower, is the crossover between back work on the upper day and leg training? I don't really generally advocate an upper lower. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you train. I don't care what split you use. I'm not saying an upper lower is bad, but I don't use it in my world. Because on an upper day, you're going to have chest, shoulders, back, triceps, biceps, 5 areas of focus. On lower day, you're going to have quads and a couple of hammy whammies. If you do this twice a week, all of a sudden you have 2 leg days and then 2 upper days where you have things cramped. I don't like this structure. I don't. Don't get me wrong. I am not saying that any split is useless. It all comes down to weekly volume and how you structure things. But I think there are much better ways. That's why I put together the upper posterior or the torso limbs. So is the crossover between back and legs the day after? It could be, depending on what you're doing. I mean, that could be the case for any program. There can always be a degree of crossover. So yes, I mean, that could be the case with any program, but there's no generic advice that says, or no generic, case where one day will always interfere with the next, if that makes sense. Big Lee, why do commercial gyms play crap music? Have they always done it? Is there an actual reason? I know they play all that upbeat music, to make us feel upbeat. Does it make me feel upbeat? No, I put in my headphones and move on with my life. I don't know. I mean, in anything in life, we have to I would say it's safe to say that like the majority of people in the gym don't want to, listen to Zombie Ritual by Death, or You Got Another Thing Coming by Judas Priest. And the majority, I don't know, maybe the majority of people want to listen to Justin Bieber. I don't know. But their goal is they're a business, so they don't want to be offensive, and start playing death metal or crude or rude, versions of rap or metal, that are very, PG-13R, whatever, even X, whatever you want to rate it. So I don't know. It is what it is. Beats headphones, um, whatever. I if I don't have Beats or if I don't have headphones, it's very, very hard for me to lift in those environments because I do find the music to be a distraction. Some people don't, obviously, but yeah, I do. I feel you. Big Lee, thoughts on doing rows with the trap bar? Good option. You have a neutral grip. Generally, you can get a good degree of elbow drive. Nothing wrong with it. I've done them over the years with a hex bar. Perfectly fine variation. If you do the high handle, you also have the benefit of doing a pendley row slightly off the ground, which is another nice benefit. Big Paul. Thank you, Paul. You bought my energy drink. Thank you so much. Let's talk eccentrics for strength. So, as you can imagine, in the lifting world, we have always, I mean, you guys know this to be true. We've always had certain things where we just invested a lot of time in, right? The magic of the moment, lengthened partials, eccentrics, time under tension, putting a cuff on your earlobe and doing twitches, whatever we're doing today. I don't know. With our cuffy wuffy lifting. Just humor. Don't get offended if you do it. I don't care what you do as long as it's effective. But yeah, we went through a period in lifting where there was an over focus on eccentrics to the point where it was the be all end all. Like all you had to worry about was the eccentrics. Now, the eccentric aspect of a lift provides some good stuff. It provides extra mechanical tension. By controlling the eccentric, you are placing extra bonus stress on the intended area. You're strengthening your body in a complementary way that works with the concentric. You're not just dive bombing the weight down during a bench, which I'm very much against. So, a good control during the eccentric is a good complement for strength and muscle building to progressive overload on the concentric. We do not have to overbake the eccentrics and go super slow or time them, but we should be focused on control, right? We should be focused on control. So just, keep that in mind. There are certain lifts where doing a controlled eccentric can beat up your lower back, like maybe barbell rows or dumbbell rows or deadlifts. So we probably should not be doing overly controlled things that beat up our lower back. We have to be intelligent about that. When it comes to strength building, we know that we need a concentric or positive movement, progressively overloaded. That's a cornerstone. You can't go on bench press with 135 and just focus on, controlled eccentrics, never progressively overloading the concentric, and expect that you're going to progress, that you're going to just stick with an eccentric and be able to build muscle. So I know I'm babbling a little bit, but I want to explain this correctly. Like, you can't stick with 135 on a weight and just expect the eccentric to build strength, or or to build muscle. You have to build strength on the concentric, so they go hand in hand. Does that make sense? So you can't, you can't just bench press and dive bomb or whatever. It doesn't work that way. So just keep that in mind. But that's the important part. As far as joint health, beating up your body, and by doing dive bombing on squats or doing dive bombing on bench or being reckless on your on your on your rows and stuff like that, just not a good idea for your joints. Crappy gamer. I've been doing 5x5 on the big lifts 3 times a week for 4 months. Not new to lifting. Strength is going up. Gained 7 pounds body weight. I noticed that my arms are exactly the same size. So we're doing a 5x5 on the big 3 lifts 3 times a week for 4 months. Strength's going up. Body weight's going up. Here's the thing. Your arm size is likely growing. What you need to understand is that gaining 3/4 of an inch to an inch a year is really good size for your arms. But 3/4 of an inch is generally more realistic. But if you divide that by 12, right, that's 1/12 of an inch or so a month. You're really not going to notice that in a month, even if you're measuring. So don't assume you're not gaining size. If you're doing the process correctly, you are gaining size. Big E, what's up? Appreciate all the content you do. I respond good to high frequency. With that said, I've liked heavy lifts more than lighter stuff the second half of the week. Any advice here? I'm trying to unpack this. So you respond to high frequency. I've liked heavy lifts the beginning of the week and lighter stuff. That's fine. As long as your weekly volume makes sense, as long as it's not beating you up, you're perfectly fine. So the only advice I would say is just focus on weekly volume, focus on an exercise selection that treats you good, have a progressive overload approach, and how you structure things in that sense is perfectly fine. It doesn't make any difference. So, nothing to worry about there. How can I program a deadlift and stiff leg deadlift at the same time? Generally, you don't want to do them in the same week. I would maybe alternate them every other week, unless you're really into a hardcore deadlift program, and then we might rotate stiff leg deadlifts and RDLs every other week. So my knees feel better and I can go back to conventional deadlifts, but I love the stiff leg deadlift and don't want to give it up. I would probably consider alternating them every other week. That would probably be a decent place to start. And then if you want to do deadlifts every week from the floor, and you could maybe add in RDLs or stiff leg deadlifts on a second day if your lower back was pretty bulletproof. Have you ever done a modified Arnold split? I've done everything over the years. I've done custom workouts using every structure. I've written articles about every structure. So yes. So there's nothing wrong with it. The thing I talk about when it comes to splits is that you want to focus on weekly volume and not just the split. Any split is just a tool. It's just a way to slice and dice the structure differently, but we have to focus on weekly volume more than anything. Make sure we have a balanced and a reasonable weekly volume, and you're good to go. Steve, where are you from? I was born and raised in Wisconsin. I lived in I was in the military in Petersburg, Fort Lee, and lived in Richmond a couple of years after I got out of the military. Old school. When I did lift there, it was in the apartment gym or just in a more commercial gym, but I never really found an old school gym back in those days. Big John, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Walker's Gym in Hopewell. The Hopewell, I recall, that's down by St. Petersburg where I was in the military. So I remember that area well. What are your cues for drag curls? Basically, you want to kind of hold the elbows back. You want to feel the biceps work. And I think about pushing the elbows back while trying to bring the bar close to my lower chest. So you start with the bar on your legs. We're going to be dragging the bar close to our body. We don't have to create friction. But I think about holding the elbows back and feeling the biceps work, almost pushing the elbow back as I drag it up the body and feel the biceps. That's basically, what I think about. JR, sneaking in the back door. I'll just leave that comment there and you guys can process that any way you want. Richard, is it possible to use deadlift block time with stiff? Yeah, absolutely. There is a 6 and 10 week protocol when it comes to the stiff leg deadlift or when it comes to deadlifts. And you can use that absolutely with the stiff leg deadlift. You can do a 10 rep or 6 or 10 minute or 6 minute. Basically, you do a single or double, and then you release the bar, you relax, and you stand up, catch your breath, then restrap, reset up, and do another single and double. So you can absolutely do that. You can do a 6-minute block of singles and doubles for 10 total reps or a 10-minute block for 14. Big Bill, happy Friday. Good to see you, Bill. Sam, how much more muscle roughly would you gain on a bulk compared to recomping? You're not going to build muscle recomping. It's a fairy tale, not more than a trivial amount. So it's not even a comparison. You can't recomp and stay at this. Recomping requires you to stay at the same scale weight, and it's not a strategy. It's a fairy tale. So you're not really going to gain really any muscle mass unless you're a beginner or novice. It's a non-question because recomping is a fairy tale. Lindsay, happy Friday. Love your stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. All kinds of programs for women. I have a lot of female clients. And I do a lot, probably 25% of my custom workouts are for women. Do you suggest a woman do a calorie surplus if they are serious about maximum mass? Absolutely. Do we go as aggressive for women? Not typically. It's a little bit more drawn out and a little bit more moderated. Women, can't gain at the same rate, but they need to train just as hard. So we'll definitely be in a calorie surplus, but what calorie surplus we're going to be in depends on the goals, the hard training of the women. Some women do a typical 1 kilo a month bulk because they're really, really eager to build dumbbell and barbell strength, particularly on their presses or squats or deadlifts. So that would be about the maximum I would recommend, 1 kilo. But there is a minimum, a pound to a pound and a half. Let me know if you have any more questions. Van Bard, how's it going? Thoughts on isolating the serratus with the scapular depression, elevation dips at the captain's chair? I don't know, man. I've never done it before. It's not something that I've ever tried to do, nor do I have any experience with. It sounds like a calculus formula for me because I'm trying to process isolating the serratus with a scapular depression. If it works for you, go right ahead. It's a very unique setup. Maybe there's somebody out there doing it with this setup. I've never actually looked into it. I've never actually seen anybody do it. So I'm not going to speak outside of my league. If it works for you, do it. I've lowered my, by the way, we have about 3 questions left. So Let me know if you have any more questions. Post them up now. Just a last call for questions. If not, I will be hopping off. I lowered my rest times on upper body compounds from 3 minutes to 2 minutes to save time. Understandably, I lost some performance. Thoughts? Not a big fan. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, so I don't want to give generic advice. But, you know, number one, we have saving time. How long, if you need to save time, I would prefer on the big compound movements that you keep a natural amount of time or rest in between sets so we can facilitate, maximizing the next set. If you're running short on time, then, maybe consider dropping deadlifts to 2 sets or squats to 2 sets. I would need to know more information, but how long the program is running. But generally, I want you to keep a reasonable and natural amount of rest in between movements, especially compounds. I tried torso and limbs, but the limbs day would feel too long having done arms before legs. It's hard to say. It depends on how long and how much work you're doing. Generally on a torso limbs, you're doing about 3 lifts for legs, maybe 3 to 4 for arms. I wouldn't say that would be any faster or slower than upper posterior or any other split, to be honest. You have the same amount of weekly volume regardless of the split. So if you're training 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, the workout length is generally going to be about the same. You're just moving pieces around the board. Does that make sense? You're not really going to save time by doing a specific variation of an A-B split. You're still going to get in the same weekly volume. Hammer strength, low row plate loaded for upper back muscles. Absolutely. The low to high row or the low row on the plate loaded is a good option. I have many clients doing it. I find the low to high row or high to low row on some of the hammer strength plate loaded stuff to be invaluable and really, really good options. Sam, should still include bent over rows if you're already, yeah, absolutely. Deadlifts are not a lower back exercise. They're going to tax your lower back. I'm saying this for anybody watching because I don't want anybody to be confused that we're including the deadlift for the lower back. The lower back is going to be obviously hit during a deadlift, but the deadlift is a unicorn lift. You want to use it, to hit your yoke and your traps and your upper back. And it's also going to hit your erectors and your lower back as well. A barbell row, absolutely. You need big hitters for your back. A deadlift is a unicorn lift. You don't have to use it, but you still need a quality selection of exercises for your upper back. What are your thoughts on low-carb, protein-loaded alternatives such as pasta wraps, pancakes? If they work well for you, that's fine. On and off over the years, I've used things like this. So it's not an issue. Anything that helps you moderate calories. Obviously, we want to be reasonable with our processed food intake, and we're not going to be reactionary and label all processed foods or all foods as equal just because they're processed. But as a tool, that's perfectly fine as long as you're getting in plenty of nutrients from your meat and your plant-based sources. Use the tools you need. Brandon, what's your take on deficit trap bar deadlifts? It's okay. I mean, it's a neutral grip. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of this is context dependent. So what I will say is I see a lot of folks moving towards a deficit deadlift when they really haven't built up enough foundational strength in their quads or back or traps or yoke or whatever to really facilitate, overall decent deadlift strength. So, sometimes we move beyond the base building to try some variations that might not actually be providing much benefit. And I don't want to give out arbitrary or generic advice. It's all situational. If it works for you, use it. I wouldn't do it every week. I would try it every other week with more floor pulling or something like that. If you had to choose a single reason why people are not successful with bench press in terms of hypertrophy and big numbers, what would you say it is? Very complicated, but number one would be inconsistent training. Number two would be not really having a quality program, over reliance on low reps, or just a random program that doesn't really have a focused progression opportunity, and an inconsistent bulk or inconsistent eating structure, and not really focusing on overall full body strength, getting your triceps strong, your biceps strong, your back strong, your shoulder strong, all of that. They tend to be the person that does the bench press and the lat pull down. They tend not to have a structured bulk or nutrition plan. They tend not to have a really good, solid structure when it comes to their training. They tend not to have a really focused progressive overload approach. So usually it's multi-tiered, if that makes sense. Big Sam, what split do you enjoy personally and keep coming back to? Always a body part split. I don't push splits. 60 to 70% of my clients use an upper lower, or not upper lower, upper posterior or torso limbs or some sort of frequency. But I like just nuking a body part per session. That's what I really, really like. Since March, I've just in mini cut binge eating cycle. Lose some fat, then binge, lose, binge, just maintaining muscle. Feel so weak. Advice, get help, get accountability. We need to start analyzing what's getting you in trouble. I am not a food counselor. I am a recovered binge eater, but you need to address, you need to sit down, write out and analyze what is causing the binge eating, what is, what you are relying on, and take some steps to push back. And if it's really, really bad, then you need to seek help. If it's just general laziness, playing video games, eating a bag of Doritos, and we're calling it binge eating, there are some food swaps that we might be able to do, but I would need more information. Larry, good to have you here. For those of you guys that don't know, Larry interviewed back in the Muscle and Strength days. Natural professional, natural champion. Good to have Larry on board. Sam, could you effectively alternate the RDL? Yeah, every other week. Absolutely. That's a great way to do things. You can floor pulling. One of the things I've taught over the years is that as you get pretty strong in the deadlift, it might not be a bad idea to rotate a variation in every other week. Deadlift and high handle hex bar, deadlift and RDL, deadlift and stiff leg deadlift, deadlift and sumo deadlift, deadlift and rack pull, deadlift and block pull. No harm in that. I think there's a lot of value in that. You don't want to overwork your floor pulls. Generally, and we're not making generalizations, but generally, there's not a lot of value in overworking your floor pulls. Thank you. I appreciate it. Last call, guys. Last call. We got 3 questions left. If you can see a faint six-pack, what body fat percentage would you roughly be at? It depends on the individual. I can see a faint six-pack at 22%. Some people need to be down at 12 to 14%. For most individuals, you're probably in the mid-teens to slightly, maybe even 16 or 17, maybe even 18 for some people. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. Big Justin Jones, good morning. Big, hairy, ugly dude and Team Massive. Do you think lifting with elbow wraps could generally, I mean, it could provide some minimal degree of comfort, but elbow tendonitis, or the stress on the inner elbow, tends to come from over gripping during your back work. And Could heat rubs or elbow wraps or something like that mitigate some of the pressure during the middle of battle? It could. I don't know. But it's certainly worth a shot. Doing 2 sets of RDLs 3 times a week. Not a big fan of that, my friend. Too much redundancy. Yeah, I don't think that's a good investment of time, to be honest with you. It's a lot of lower back stress. I mean, if it's working for you, go with it, right? There are no magic rules in lifting, but I do think it's too many eggs in the RDL basket. A lot of lower back stress. I would probably consider some other exercise variations for the hammy whammies, like leg curls or glute ham raises on a back extension. If you've been doing it, so you've been doing gym for about a year, I mean, that's a good goal, but I don't think you need to overbake the RDL to get to that goal. I think in some ways it could be counterproductive. I'm not trying to derail anybody making good progress, but it's definitely some hard things we need to think about with this type of approach. All right, let me get a drink. Is it cool to work through fatigue even if you're very sore? Well, it's nuanced. Heavy squats twice a week is probably going to leave you pretty sore. At the end of the day, if you're going to dance with the devil, you need to understand the consequences. I'm not being critical of that approach, but if you're doing brutal squats twice a week, you're going to be sore. So the question is, do you need to do that to get good leg development? No. Do you like to do it? If so, then that's going to be the consequences. Will you maybe have to adjust your programming a little bit? Maybe. But if you adjust your programming, then is it worth squatting twice a week? That's the question. So it's a very complicated subject. There's no easy answers. I wish there was. I tried to send a link to my bench, but it isn't showing up. Do you have WhatsApp? You can send it. Oops. If you have WhatsApp, you can send it there, and I'd be happy to take a look. Be happy to take a look. All right. Let me just, where are we? Whoops. Following up on body fat percentage. Yeah, you can send it on Discord DM as well. Following up on body fat percentage question, I'm 6'5", 226, late intermediate with decent mass. What's your arm size flexed? So if you're 5'10", your natural lean mass potential would be around 178 to 180 if you had no fat. You're 7 inches above that, which is about 35 pounds of lean body mass potential, which could put you at around 215 pounds of lean body mass potential. So if you're an intermediate, probably more like 200. It sounds like you're probably in the low teens based on the guesstimate, but I would have to get more information. Just seeing if he was sending a notification via Discord. All right. I also do 2 sets of seated leg curls twice a week and 2 sets of lying leg curls. So very, very solid. This is the individual that was doing 6 sets of RDLs a week, doing about 10 sets of hammy whammies a week. That's a lot of hamstring work. Not necessarily a bad thing. I would probably pull back on the old RDL volume. So I just got in the video that he wanted me to look at as far as the bench press. And I'm going to try to get that pulled up. Hold on one second. I just have to mute it because if there's any shenanigans. All right, so let me present, share screen. And let's see. We'll give it the like. Okay, so we're looking at his bench form. There's a couple things I look for. Number one, does he have a solid, reasonable grip spacing relative to his limb lengths and leverages? Sometimes you see a lot of narrow grips on the bench press, which basically turn it into a close grip bench. Nothing inherently wrong with that, but you can take away some of the stress on the chest and transfer it more to the triceps. So I can see him setting up with a reasonable grip spacing. It looks equal relative to the rings. Another thing I want to look for is make sure that his feet are planted and not dancing. I don't want to see dancing feet after the unrack because it can just contribute to looseness and an unstable, unsteady, whatever bench press. I want to see basically a tight setup. From here, I want to see good control going down and not bouncing it off his chest. Good control. So there's kind of a on the chest. One thing you want to make sure you're not doing is getting loose with the weight on your chest. And it looks reasonable. I don't see you getting loose on your chest. Just make sure that when you control it down, you don't get that moment of looseness where you feel that relaxation of the shoulders and back. I want to check bar speed here. Okay. Bar speed, good, normal. Bar speed, good, normal. Bar speed, good, normal. Elbows started to shake a little bit. Probably had at least one more rep in the tank. I would get a spotter and chase that rep because that is what we're after. But based on your speed, yeah, everything looks good, and you probably had another rep in the old tank. Oh, we did that one. Sorry, did that one. Have you ever noticed that triceps growth strategies were noticeably different from what worked for the biceps? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Two completely different muscle groups and strategies. The triceps can generally take a lot more beating, a big beefier muscle group, but they can also pick up a lot of elbow stress. So in the biceps world, there's a lot of choices, and basically it's like running through a field of wildflowers. You can pick whatever you want. Pick this, pick hammers, pick dumbbell curls, alternating, inclines, machine curls, cable curls, whatever. You obviously want to have some progressive overload and good mechanical stress on the biceps. But basically, biceps training, there's a lot of choices. You pick whatever works for you, and you get in a reasonable amount of volume per week. Triceps, I mean, you need a solid degree of stress because they are a big, strong muscle group. You want to make sure that the exercises you use aren't beating up your elbows. So there's a little bit more nuance, but a little bit more, opportunity for maybe a little bit more volume. I have never found downside to training arms more frequently. I've never found any downside to training triceps with a lot of intensity and volume, but everybody's kind of different. But yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some nuance difference, and it can be very individual dependent. And hold on, that lag there. I have a female IFBB pro training partner. She likes me. I like her, but it could be messy if things go wrong. Here's my advice in life, and I want you to listen. Anything can go wrong in anything you do, okay? Possible relationships, work situations, friendships. At any given moment in life, okay, you have to go with your instincts. If you are not super passionate about this person, but more curious, then give it time. If you're super passionate about this person, then you don't want to have regrets. You also have to weigh the consequences of your actions and be willing to face the consequences of your actions. But I will tell you, it is a long life, my friend. And many of the tough decisions I had at 20 or 22 or 24 or 26 seemed incredibly mentally taxing and mentally debilitating, but I don't even remember them, right? So they are very fleeting. The best thing you can do in life is not live in a world of regret. If you are sincere, if you are decent, if you are a good person, and you are interested in someone, you better make sure she's somewhat interested in you before you make that jump. But you only live once, my friend. Happy Friday, rack pull. All right, guys, we're an hour and 6 minutes in. I'm going to hang around for a couple more minutes before I jump ship. Just a reminder, if you need a custom workout, please head over here and hit custom. I have only one left to do this weekend, so I have time. If you sign up for the custom workout, I usually get the questions back to you very, very quickly, and we can get rolling. If you need coaching, head over here and click the coaching tab. I would love to help. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Please come back next Friday, and we are out of here.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.
Stuck at 18-kilogram dumbbell French press for over a month. It's not a big progressor, so I wouldn't sweat it. It's certain lifts do not have a big progression opportunity. You might only get one rep every 2 or 3 months. So just focus on hard training. That's your driving point. From hard training, all good things come. And beyond that, if you don't like it, try something different.
I'm going to stand right here. You're going to flip as far as you can. You're going to flip as far as you can until this thing gets so tight where you can't flip it. Let's go.
Now flip it once more.
Right.
Now, Frisch's open for breakfast at 6 a.m.
I do 3 sets of incline push downs. Okay, sounds reasonable. Like I said, just do what you're going to do. Focus on hard training. And if you don't like it, switch to something more impactful.